to do things that are extreme, it's really important to take extreme measures. It all comes down to what is the result that you want and what are you willing to do to get it.
Well, hey, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. I am so excited to invite you into today's episode and meet my friend, Kam Knight. Kam is an international speaker, a best-selling author of a dozen books in the area of mental, emotional, and physical performance. He's known for bringing fresh solutions and insights that are a rare departure from how people typically tend to think about these things. And so his books have become a gold standard for their respective topics. He's helped over 500,000 people. And when he's not coaching or writing, he's traveling, and he has visited, get this, over 100 countries around the world. Amazing. Kam, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you very much, Amanda. I am excited to be here.
So good, so good. Now, I mean, books, so many books. Okay, I just got to ask you right off the top, because a lot of our listeners we're entrepreneurs, we're very busy, we're coaches, we want to help. You've clearly unlocked something here to be able, so prolific in writing books that reach so many people. What's your secret? How do you do that, and do all the traveling, do all the coaching, do all the speaking?
Well, I wouldn't say there's actually one secret, because a lot of times people are asking me, what's the one piece of advice you can give? And what I want people to understand is that there really isn't one piece of advice. There's a lot of things that need to be fallen into place for us to make the progress that we're seeking. And when a person does find that one piece of advice where they think that was like the game changer for them, it's usually because they had all the other things in place. And
it's like the last piece as opposed to the one piece.
Exactly. So it's just that puzzle piece that was missing that helped them put everything together. And what I have noticed is a lot of people are looking for that one piece of advice, that one golden nugget, but really there isn't one. We have to really focus on a lot of different areas. So if I could give one piece of advice, at least for me, what really helped me was singular focus. Because now we're living in a world where there's so many options, and our options have options, that it's easy to kind of like fall in all over the place. And so the reason I've been able to do what I have, 12 books isn't an easy feat. And this was all prior to ChatGPT. So, I mean, it was a...
Wait, you actually wrote your books?
Wow. I actually wrote my books, yes, whereas everyone's having AI do it. There was no AI back then. I mean, we had spell check, but that was the extent of it. But to do that, I really cut out everything. I cut out television, I cut out media, I cut out YouTube. I even, in many respects, cut out reading personal development, because it would give me too much inspiration to do other things. And Amanda, I even went as far as to cut out people in a lot of ways, and essentially created a bubble to essentially block as many triggering stimuli that would take me off of my path. And I know this sounds extreme, but I think to do things that are extreme, like writing 12 books and traveling to 100 countries, it's really important to, in some ways, take extreme measures. It all comes down to like, what is the result that you want and what are you willing to do to get it? And for me, I just knew that's what I needed to do, because the reason for me that was so important is because I have what I call an overactive mind, or overactive wanting mechanism, where my brain sees something and it wants it, and it hears something and it wants that too. In fact, oftentimes I don't have to hear or see anything. My brain's just pulling me in all sorts of directions. And later on in life, I realized if I wanted to accomplish anything, I needed a way to manage this. And this is what I found to be the most effective.
I love this. I literally just this morning had a conversation with a colleague, and, they were telling me about the different events that they're going to. And I jokingly said, but it's very relevant to what you're saying about singular focus. I said, I've been on a bit of an events diet,
Yeah.
like I love going to events, but I so resonate with what you're saying about this idea brain. And what I told my colleague friend was that, I wanted to slow down the inputs so that I could
Yes.
focus on getting my art out, getting my creativity out, getting my music out, and not literal music. Nobody look for me on Spotify, but in
Yeah.
terms of my creative goals and like business goals, my creative business goals as well. This year I have gone to markedly fewer events, and now I have a name for it, singular focus.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I love this one quote, and I think your audience will really resonate. It's by David Allen. He says, "You can have anything you want, but not everything." And I love that because the way our brain is designed, the part of the brain that creates wants and desires, it's actually completely unrestrained. It's creating endless wants, one after another, at a pace faster than any one person can achieve. So, this part of the brain doesn't realize that our time, energy, and resources are limited. It simply creates wants. And even while we're working on one want, it'll create other wants to chase. And so, and what's really crazy about our wants is that when we do get these wants, it floods our body with these really intense, inspiring emotions, which can convince us, yes, I can do it. I have the time, I have the ability, when really we don't. And so we really need to manage our wants. We really need to like kind of control and cut out as many as possible. So the ones that we have the time and energy to actually go after and chase. And so if people can understand, yeah, we can have anything we want, but we do have to get rid of a lot of these other ones, it can like create that shift that they need because we're just living in a world where we just want it all. We want to do everything, but it's just not possible.
Oh my gosh. So, not to be totally obnoxious, but I literally have tattoos about this, right? So, on my left hand side, I have facing me in my mother's handwriting, do what matters. And
Yes.
that's essentially the same idea where I'm the arbitrar. I'm the one that gets to decide
Yeah.
where I'm going to direct my time, my money, my energy, right? But then on the other side, facing the world, right? It says in my handwriting, let it go, and then it's got this pattern of kind of an infinity symbol that goes off into the distance because like that's really my experience is exactly what you're saying.
That's it.
So much of activating a good life is about letting things go
Letting
and
things
really
go.
just focusing in on the things that matter to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I could add to that, I would probably say, in addition to letting things go, I think we're at a point now more than ever where we need to learn to say no. We have to say no to a lot of things. To say no to people, we have to say no to these wants and desires that their brain's creating. We have to say no to a lot of these things that are being asked of us in order to be able to stay with what it is that we want or what it is that we truly desire or what it is that is our calling. And I don't think a lot of people are really talking about it so much, but one of the most important things in our time really is cultivating this ability to say no and do it in a way where we don't feel bad because a lot of times guilt can come in because we're not saying yes or we're letting people down or we're not showing up for others, but we just can't spread ourselves too thin. Otherwise, that's the results we're going to get.
Let's unpack that one a little bit because I completely agree with you. There's this wiring, it seems, to yes, like we all want
Yeah.
yes, yes now, yes more, yes desire.
Yeah.
So much of the marketing we experience, it really is rooted in lack and
Yeah.
in scarcity and being left out and the FOMO and like all of those kinds of things.
So much of it. Yeah.
So much of it, right? And with good reason. It's basically reflecting back the collective psychology and sociology of people. Like that's why they do it. It's very, very, very effective. But for somebody who, let's just say that we've got somebody listening right now who has been spun up in maybe the people pleasing or feeling guilt or shame, like you said, about maybe the desire to say no, or maybe
Yeah.
it's just so noisy that they're not sure they can say no to anything,
Yeah.
what would you tell that person?
Well, when it comes to guilt, what I tell people is either way you go, you're doing it for yourself. So if a person doesn't do something because they'll feel guilty, they're not doing it because they want to. They're doing it so they don't feel that pain of guilt. So they're still doing it for themselves. I
Whoa.
know.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. That's a big idea. And oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Can you say that like maybe in another way, or ways that you see people kind of do this
Yeah.
and live this pattern out?
Yeah. So a lot of times when they fall into guilt, they think they're being good and kind or generous to another person, or they think they're doing it for the other person. But at the root of it, they're doing it so they don't feel the pain of the guilt. And so, in a way, they're still doing it for themselves. So, if they're still doing it for themselves, why not choose a thing that's going to be more helpful for them? Yeah, that's how I help
Oh my
people.
gosh. I want to take this 3-minute clip and I want to play it for everybody that I've worked with in the coaching industry, in the coaching space, because a lot of us were, and this was me too, just like pulled in because
Yeah.
we love people and and like we feel called to that impact, but it's so easily perverted, if you will,
Yes.
by the
Yes.
guilt and the shame and the people pleasing, and it can take you out of operating as your best self or as your highest version of
Yeah.
you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's what I would say because it's easy to assume, oh, yeah, I'm being kind and generous. And yes, we are. But then there's that underlying thing where we're still doing it for ourselves. And if a person can understand, hey, if I do this thing for me, that's going to be beneficial, or if I do this thing for this other person so I don't feel guilty, since I'm still doing it for myself, I'll just pick the option that's going to be more healthy choice for me. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't ever do anything for others. I think it's really important to still show up for others, but this should help put the guilt in a better perspective in case somebody does fall into people pleasing, thinking they're the victim when, when we look at it deeply, they're making a choice that's still in the best interest for themselves.
This is
Yeah.
absolutely gold. Cam, I'm so glad you joined us today. I mean, like this is incredible. So when somebody wants to, let's take that as, yes, okay, whatever I do, it's going to be selfish at the end of the day because I'm being pulled towards my action and I have full agency.
Yeah.
So then now what? Like, how do you know this is fun. How do you know that what you're listening to for you is what you want versus maybe parroting an echo of what you think you should want, or you think that maybe you have had a lot of exposure and experience with something and you're kind of defaulting? How do you know you're acting based on your true desire, your authentic desire, versus potentially that fear or that avoidance or that pain or that default?
This is a tough one. And I think this goes really deep into the psychology of our wants. And, our wants come up for so many different reasons. Well, a lot of the times it comes up for approval and acceptance and for attention. A lot of times it actually comes up to be seen, to be heard, to be known, and to matter. And it because these are so like deep down, operating at such a deep down unconscious level, when we get a desire to do something, a lot of times we think it's because we want to do it, or it's because we're making the choice, or if it's or that it's actually going to be fulfilling to us. But there are a lot of underlying causes, like the things I mentioned. It could also even come from wanting security or wanting safety. And again, it's not a very easy thing to just say, how do I know why I'm doing this? Or if I'm doing it for the right reasons, it does take a little bit of awareness. And the one thing, and I struggle with this a lot, especially when I wanted to be kind of donate and be generous. And the way I did it was for myself, knowing why I was truly doing something, is I wouldn't talk about it. Because if I was telling people what I was doing and why I was doing it and things, then I knew I was getting it for attention. But if I wasn't telling people and I still wanted to do it and have the motivation, desire, then I knew I was doing it for more grounded reasons. Does that make sense? And
It makes so much sense. And, I've
yeah,
heard two schools of thought on these things, whether it was, a donating goal or really any kind of a goal. And the two schools of thought are what you just said, which is
yeah,
keep it to yourself.
yep,
They can find out once you've done it.
yeah, exactly.
And then the other school of thought is you need to tell everybody because you need that accountability.
Yeah,
And I got to tell you, Cam, I tend to go the more along your lines
yeah,
of that quiet, that introspection. And I mean, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure if that's the way I love to do it, or maybe it's like certain things it's better have that external accountability, say it out
yeah,
loud, call your shot. Or maybe certain other things it's better to keep it down and quiet. But I like your point out or your call out there
yeah,
of if I'm feeling like I have to be performative or if I have to gain your approval, then I will do the thing.
yeah,
Maybe I need to spend more time with that to really sit down and it's coming right back for me, it's coming right back to the values conversation of what do
yeah,
I value and am I consciously choosing this value or am I defaulting to my subconscious
yeah.
desires and subconscious values. And I think the security one is a really big one for a lot of people.
Securities, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I do want to make a distinction because there is a lot of talk of like, hey, tell everybody so you can have accountability or keep it to yourself until you actually have done it. More or less, don't tell people what you're going to do, show them what you're going to do. And this is great perspective to have when we're trying to figure out how to make sure that we stick to our commitments. But since you were asking, how do we know why if we're doing things for the right reasons? Then we can still use this principle, but to see if we're doing it to get attention or if we're doing it because this is what we truly want and desire. And so this thing can help us with both. And there is a lot of talk about, hey, tell everybody and not. And I think there isn't one right way or not. It really depends on the person. Because if somebody gets a lot of pressure for telling people what they're going to do, and it creates a lot of pressure that they have to perform, and that pressure does help them perform, then yeah, go for it. Start telling more people more of what you want to do so you can get that necessary pressure / accountability to see it to the end. For others, that's just too much pressure and they cower. And I wouldn't say I cower, but I've just noticed that when I am talking about something before I do it, it almost never happens. But if I keep a tight lip on it, I do end up doing a lot more than I would have even said. Hence, I've written 12 books, traveled to 100 countries, and it wasn't just vacation. I mean, I did some pretty extreme stuff there, like hiked the ice sheets of Greenland, tallest mountain range in Africa, slept in the oldest rainforest in Asia or in the world in Asia. And all of those things I wasn't telling everybody about. They were all things that I wanted to do. I went out and did it, and then I started talking about it. And then again, I am always trying to figure out if what I'm doing is for the right reasons. And for me, the easiest way has been not telling too many people or anybody at all. And if I still do it and enjoy doing it and want to do it, then it validates for me that I'm on the right path.
I love this. I love this. I mean, something I like to say a lot is that ideas are cheap. It's the execution that's really expensive.
Yes, exactly. No, it's seriously, it's yeah, and it kind of relates to something I heard recently, like learning without application, if you're not executing, is just entertainment.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, dear listener, make sure that you're executing, taking some notes.
Yes.
I love that. I want to ask you too a little bit about this idea of internal resistance,
Yeah.
So, okay, great. Singular focus. Fantastic. Get quiet, understand like why you're doing what you're doing. Sounds good. Amazing. Still really struggling maybe with activating that singular
Yeah.
focus or just even following through on the idea even if you're pretty sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Like what causes that resistance, but I think even more importantly, what can we do about it?
Okay. So this is a really good question, and I'm going to try to help people or your audience understand resistance first, and then we can get at a better answer. So to understand resistance, it helps to understand that the part of the brain that creates wants and desires works separately and independent of the part that allows you to act on that desire. Very important, so I'll say it again. The part of the brain that creates wants works separately from the part that allows you to act on that want. So you have one part of the brain that's creating endless wants, as I mentioned, one after another, and it doesn't check to see if you have the time, resources, or energy to achieve the want. It just simply creates wants, which is why it's really important for us to get singular focus, because this wanting mechanism goes all over the place. But even once we hone in on that want, it gets evaluated by this other part of the brain using a whole host of criteria. And if this desire is not in line with the criteria, our brain will prevent action. So another thing that's important to understand is that it is possible for our brain to create a desire for something and at the same time hold us back from it. I know it's pretty wild, but that's what's really going on, is because there's two mechanisms at play. In fact, I used to think whoever created humanity, whether it was God, aliens, or evolution, must have been really sick and twisted. Because how could they create us with these burning desires and then keep us from going after them? Like, it just sounded,
It
you
feels
know,
cruel, doesn't it?
so cruel. But it makes sense when you think about it this way. And the criteria can be quite extensive. You know, some of the more commonly known or discussed include limiting beliefs, habits, and comfort zones. But when we really dive into it, it goes much deeper, like authority issues, inner child, things. There's a concept I call the secret. And I've kind of, in my journey of studying internal resistance, I've come across over 25 things that the brain is evaluating. And so to answer the question, so how do we get over the resistance? Unfortunately, it's not that easy, because we have to look at what criteria doesn't meet the desire that the brain is stopping us. If it's limiting beliefs, we got to work on that. If we have authority issues, we got to work on that. If we have other things, we got to work on that. And what's interesting is that for some people, they have a lot. And so have to go through a lot of stuff, which is why, you know, they'll learn about a concept that says, oh, you got to work on your beliefs, and they do, and they're still stuck, and they think, oh, this stuff doesn't work. Well, it's like, it works. It's just that now you have something else to work and something else to work
It's
through.
more complicated. It's getting back to
Yeah,
that puzzle analogy that we
yeah,
talked about at the very beginning. That
exactly.
the breakthrough usually comes when we get that critical piece of the puzzle, but so
Yeah,
often your puzzle's still not done. It's just that you've got more clarity,
yeah,
and yeah, I love that.
yeah. So you got to dig a little bit deeper. But for some people, they're just at a place where maybe it was just a limiting belief, or maybe it was just a habit issue or a self-image issue. And once they work on that, then they can, make some huge progress. And then somebody will see that and be like, okay, I did what this person did, but I'm still stuck. And
Different
then
puzzle.
there's just another piece they have to work through. But unfortunately, it's easy to think, oh, there's something wrong with me, or I'm not cut out for it, or it won't work for me. That's not the case. It's just there's another piece that is holding you back that we got to work through. So yeah,
So good. Cam,
yeah,
what is the best way for people to follow you?
yeah. The easiest way is to reach out to me on my website. That's kamknight.com, KAMKNIGHT.com. And I've got a free gift for your audience, which is 5 ways to end procrastination and sabotage. It seems like a simple concept, but this guide really goes into the psychology of how our brain tricks us for moving forward. What's really important to understand is when resistance stops us, it doesn't tell us that it's stopping us. It doesn't say, hey, Amanda, this thing that you're trying to do, it goes against our authority issues, so I can't let you do it. The inaction manifests in very manipulative ways. And the tricks the brain uses are so manipulative, cunning, we don't think of them as tricks, which is why they work so well and why we so easily fall for them. So this guide will shine a light on some of the tricks and give a framework of how to even understand the other tricks that might be coming up. And they can get that free on that website or on my website.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to dig into that myself. I mean, you are an incredible human, Cam, and I'm so
Thank you.
glad that you took the time to share with us some of your wisdom today.
No problem. This was great. I was really happy to be here.
Amazing. And dear listener, hey, I'm sure you heard something amazing. So don't forget to hit subscribe so that you don't miss our next episode. And also, you've probably got like 3 friends who need to hear that it's a matter of solving their puzzle pieces to get their next big breakthrough. So grab the link of the show, text it to them, send it on DM, but share this message with them so that they have another clue as they are building their dreams and attacking their goals. And one last thing, if you really did love this, if this is just awesome, and you've got a minute, we'd really love a review. So wherever you happen to be listening to this, go ahead and leave us a review. An honest review, 5 stars is always amazing. But if it, whatever you actually really thought, because it helps people to decide whether they're going to spend time with us. And we always appreciate you taking the time to share what you really, really love about the show. I'll be back with you on our next episode. And until then, make sure you do what matters.